Hey everyone, it's Father Christian here at your favorite Christian YouTube channel, the place where we dive headfirst into a ton of topics, but always through the lens of faith. So this week we're taking on a huge topic, a popular topic that's always out there for years and years, which is why does God allow evil to happen in this world? And what does that mean about God, right? And I'm not going to try to answer that question all by myself. No. On this week's episode, we got Dr. Chris Hall coming on, the President of Renovaré, the premier ecumenical spiritual formation place in the whole country, who was a professor for so many different years over at Eastern University, who has been a dean and a provost. It goes on and on and on. He's written over 10 books, and he's coming to St. Mary's, the church that I serve, to lead a retreat, to preach and to teach. And I'm also going to steal him away for a second to ask him just that question. Why does evil happen? Why did God allow the Holocaust to happen? So you might have your own ideas, and I would love for you to leave a comment below. But why do you think God allows evil to happen in this world, and how you process that? Whether you are an atheist, an agnostic, or a believer, I don't care. Leave it below. So that's what's coming up. It's going to be an exciting episode with Dr. Chris Hall, and let's get started. He was deep in prayer, just getting ready for his sermon. So I walked over and I saw you, and you were like, the eyes closed. And I was like, I do not want to get and mess around with that. So we just got done with our 2 services of having Chris Hall here. We're going off to a brunch over at Sailor's Return, and I'm sure hoping I get some time to get a little bit of an interview with him, to go into a little bit deeper topics about some of the things he has been talking about. So I actually literally went in and I stole Dr. Chris from the restaurant. Welcome to your favorite Christian vlog. That's literally the name of the vlog.
I'm his favorite Christian. Christian's favorite Christian.
Yes. You know, a lot of the work that I find myself encountering, talking a lot with seekers and talking to a lot of people who the major question of their faith comes back to that age-old question that you brought up during the retreat, which was, like your son asked you, where was God at Auschwitz? How would you begin that conversation with someone who is not even just agnostic or atheist, even a believer?
Where was God at Auschwitz? Well, I think the starting point is just keep quiet for a while and let who's ever asking the question explore the question herself or himself. Something has touched them, and in all likelihood, they're wondering about what God is like. What God is like. That's what my son was wondering about. So I think there's 2 ways to approach that question. First, we really listen to the person asking the question, and we ponder the seriousness of the question. For some people, the answer to this question is going to mean everything. So I think we have to acknowledge, whether we like to or not, whether we like it that God has given image bearers, human beings, this kind of freedom that can be exercised to do these horrific things. God has. And we know that because we ourselves have done terrible things, chosen to do so, and have done that. And then for Christian folks, and as a possibility for non-Christian folks, what I encourage people to do then, when we look at something like Auschwitz, I've spent time in Rwanda, these kinds of places and situations, I think we start with the cross of Christ and move out from the cross through the resurrection as we try to sort through all the issues that are involved in coming up with an answer to what happened. So what the cross teaches me, and what the cross is God not remaining separate from us as we exercise our freedom at times to do absolutely wicked, horrific things. God has not remained separate from us. God, in the person of the Son, experienced the horror of being hated and rejected, tortured, crucified, and so on. He experienced it. And in the resurrection, overturned it. But we have not reached the time yet.
Is there a point, though, I wonder about this, because we talk about free will, that do we, since God has given us free will from day one, that things, these horrors that have happened, right? You can say that, let's say, just take the Hutus and the Tutsis, that there was information that was spread globally, and that the United Nations knew a lot about what was happening, and that other countries really took their time to get involved. The United Nations had their hands tied of not getting involved. That part of that free will, I mean, that do we as a human race, that do we need to take responsibility for our inaction as a global community instead of just blaming God? Because God has given us the gifts.
Human freedom is exercised individually, it's exercised communally, and sometimes exercised by taking the easy way out, exercised by turning it in the opposite direction. This would cost too much to intervene.
Right.
This would not fit our strategic strategy for whatever country it might be as a whole. The bottom line is, when we exercise the will that God has given us in such a fashion, people get killed. And we're responsible. Nobody forced the Hutu leaders and the Hutu power movement to do what they were doing. But there's a collective power that gets released when you put human beings together and they begin to speak a lie. And suddenly the lie begins to sound a lot like the truth. And the next thing that happens, people are dying, people are being ignored, people are being exterminated.
As image bearers, how do we respond to this? It's not just that we will pray for you. What is our response?
Well, one of the things that I do personally is two things. I try to expand my knowledge base of what's going on in the world. So I'd encourage you, expand your knowledge base. Don't trust everything that the major networks are saying. And secondly, the discipline of moving your body to places you normally would not want to go.
Right.
Just go to a given place. I did this with my younger brother, Shane Claiborne.
Oh, Shane!
I don't know if you know that name.
Yeah.
So Shane's like my younger brother, a former student of mine.
Wow.
And when he moved down to Potter Street in North Philly,
Yeah.
I'm living out in the suburbs. I knew what the Lord wanted me to do was to take my body and on a regular basis just go down to Potter Street in North Philly. Keep my mouth shut. Don't go down with the idea there's a lot I can teach these folks. Just be quiet and be there and observe. And then I think what will happen is within, for example, one image bearer's life, it could be mine, it could be Christian, we will know what we can do with our one life. We can't do everything,
Right.
but we'll know what we can do with our one life to, by God's grace, extend a kingdom into the darkness that the Lord has allowed us to encounter.
Well, very good advice from a very wise man. Thank you so much. I know our food's getting cold.
Food!
Yes, we're going to run back in. So
Blessings to everybody.
Yeah, God bless. Okay, so we just finally got Chris on his way to the airport, and we had this incredible weekend with Dr. Chris leading us through this Christian formation in our spiritual disciplines. But inevitably, the conversation did come to this part of free will, the freedom to use these spiritual disciplines or not. And what can happen when we see when folks are not invested and involved and really ingrained in their faith, that bad things can happen. Why did horrible things like the Holocaust or the genocide that we see in Rwanda, why did that happen? Well, it was a choice. The choice that people took to follow different ideologies and to believe in those ideologies and to let go. I mean, that was a Christian nation you're talking about, Rwanda, to let go of their heart of Christ, to just go in a certain direction to do horrible things. So we need to be so present in our own work, in our spiritual disciplines, to be working on that so our hearts are constantly being transformed and changed, so we become closer to God, we become closer to reveal more and be the image bearers as Chris talks about. So I'm asking you right now, in your own life right now, that when you look at your neighborhood, where is a place, as you as an image bearer of God, how are you and where are you being called? When you look at the injustices that are happening in your neighborhood, in your town, in your city, in your anywhere that locally, where are you being called? Because it is your responsibility. You have free will to choose, not because it is affecting you directly, because it's affecting others. And an injustice for one is an injustice for all. That is our call as Christians. So I look forward to seeing you next Monday here on Your Favorite Christian. Subscribe below and to hit that notification up above so you'll get these videos. You'll know when they come. You'll get a pop-up on your phone. And to share and like these videos. Looking forward to seeing you next Monday. God bless.